Welcome back. This week we've been updating you on a court case in Chicago that has sparked national debate over the separation of church and state.
Rebecca and Joseph Reyes are in the middle of a bitter divorce, and Joseph could face jail time for taking their 3-year-old daughter to Catholic church. When the couple married, they agreed to raise their daughter Jewish, and she attends a Jewish preschool.
Joining us now with more is Joseph Reyes and his lawyer Joel Brodsky. Joel Brodsky, a busy man, also defending Drew Peterson. We're used to seeing
irons in the fire. So
well, let's ask you a question first, Joseph. There seems to be some confusion. Did you agree to? I know you converted to Judaism when you married your wife. You're since back to your Catholic faith, but did you actually agree to raise your daughter Jewish?
No, actually, the conversion occurred at the end of the marriage.
Is this a contract, though? The fact that you actually converted to Judaism, Joel, I mean, does that somewhat imply that you're going to raise your daughter or offspring Jewish?
Well, as Joseph said, he converted because of his in-laws. They were trying to save the marriage. He just had a baby and try to keep the family intact. He agreed to go through a reform, ceremony, reform conversion ceremony. But there was never an agreement. And even if there was, in America, we're allowed to change religions. You can probably do it on a daily basis if you want to. The question here is whether or not government, through the courts, can intrude on matters of faith and actually rule on matters of faith. And personally, I hope not.
What we've been talking about the past couple of days as we're reading this story is it wrong for you to expose your daughter to your religion? But the issue seems to me that it's not about exposing her to your religion. You indoctrinated her into the faith. Isn't that a much bigger difference?
Well, I don't think that baptism is an indoctrination, for one.
You don't think so?
No, I don't. I think that, well, first of all, if you look at the number of different sacraments, confirmation reinforces the belief in like the Catholic faith. Then you have communion. So it's really more of a welcoming ceremony. And of course, the significance is that you're cleansing your child of original sin.
Is there a legal precedent for this, Joel? People hear this and they automatically think, how could a judge even rule on something like this? Freedom of religion, right?
Well, yeah, there's one case in Illinois where the appellate court actually ruled, and what they said is that a father during visitation can expose, they use the word expose, his child or her child to his or her religion during the visitation periods, as long as it's not fatal to the child. And whether you believe baptism is a conversion or merely a ceremony, a joyful ceremony, it's certainly not harmful. And that was the standard, is harm. And that's where we're totally cannot understand how a judge could even think for 1 second that Joseph or the baptism ceremony could be harmful.
So where does it stand right now?
Well, it stands where we're in the contempt proceedings. We're going to be filing a motion to dismiss based on the Establishment Clause of the Constitution that says the government should not rule on matters of faith. It can't say this is Jewish, this is Catholic. It's got to just stay out of it.
Does freedom of religion, though, trump some order by a judge when you're talking about it, whether it's a divorce agreement or otherwise?
Well, I certainly hope so. I mean,
really?
it's a base. I mean, our country, I think, became as great as it is because we've kept government out of religion. When you have theocracies like in Afghanistan and Iran, countries tend to self-destruct. We become a great country because, for one reason, is that government stays out of religion, courts stay out of religion, and I think that that's a basic principle, and one that Joseph feels very strongly about.
Joseph, some might say that you were baiting your ex-wife because you actually sent a picture, you got her baptized, when really you could have just brought her to church. You went through the baptism, sent the picture to your ex-wife. Is that correct? Do you feel like maybe you could have eased into it and maybe it wouldn't have been a legal battle like this, or do you agree with the way you did things?
I sent her a picture as sort of an olive branch, as a sign of peace, trying to make her more inclusive in my daughter's activities when she spent time with me.
But was bringing a TV crew to church along with her in her best interest?
Well, we're talking about two separate situations. With regard to the TV crew, look, when people have an obligation to prove that there's substantial harm and there's no harm occurring, and you have a ridiculous quarter out there, as a civic-minded person, the general public should know.
Do you expect Joseph to go to jail over this?
I expect that the court will uphold the Constitution and that this charge will be dismissed.
Joseph Reyes and Joel Brodsky, thanks for being here today.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Our pleasure.
Coming up on New Next Hour, we're going to get the other side of this story with Lisa Reyes' attorney, Stephen Lake. If you're going to miss it, you can set your DVRs. That's coming up after 7:30. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, gentlemen.